in my tabs folder, I've created a new file called FlatList.tsx. So this, by putting a new TSX file in the tabs folder, then it will, well, I guess once I put something in it, it will make a new tab. I'm going to copy this part. Actually, I'm going to copy everything from index into FlatList. Okay? Because I think I'm going to want a lot of that. I don't want this edit screen info. Yeah, easy. Sure. And let me actually, I'm going to call this flat list screen because all I'm showing is a flat list. Okay. So Discord, this is the flat list dot, oh wait. There's the file. Okay, you with me? Last time, or between last time, Robert and I worked to get GlueStack UI working, and it worked. And that does, it kind of worked, right? It just, one thing I learned in doing that is that there is a text and a view component that comes out of the themed file. And in this, the main thing that this themed file does is it allows you to pass in a light color and a dark color to a text and a view to support light mode, dark mode in this setup. So even if you later add more, if you try to define the color elsewhere, it may get overridden here. Is a weirdness, at least if you do it the Tailwind way. But if you use text and view out of themed instead of out of React Native, then it'll automatically, for those two components, respect the light mode, dark mode. That may hurt you or it may help you. I don't know. Okay. So I want us to make a flat list from scratch so that we understand what's going on. Okay. Let me leave that here for a moment. The first thing I want is to go to Discord and copy out this club's information. So this is 5 items. You can see this is an array of 5 things. Each thing has an ID, a title, and a description. Those are just random words that I made up that don't mean anything. Okay? You guys got this data in here? So the one of these flat lists is always based on some big array of data that you have that you're showing in a very structured, repeated way. Yeah? So it's based on the data. We're not going to manually put this out. There's automated ways of converting this data, mapping it into that list of like cool rows. Okay, so that is our data. I'm going to change the flat list screen to just return a flat list. And if you're coming through here, I want to bring in the one, I'm going down to the one that comes from React Native. And by doing that, it adds flat list up here. The flat list is, it can be like a self-closing kind of component. So I've just closed it. All right. I felt like the hardest part of this to me is it's so syntactically cumbersome. It is really syntactically complex to do this. Enough that I couldn't manually type what I saw on one screen and put it on my screen without making a mistake. And to pull it out of your head feels even harder to me, but I'm new to this. Okay, there are some things that every flat list must have to work. Perhaps the most important thing is you have to tell it what the data is that's going to create this flat list. So the data element is going to be the name of our array, which is clubs. Okay? So we're linking the flat list to this set of data. So there will, in the end, there'll be 5 rows because we have 5 things of data. Really, this would be better suited when you have lots and lots of data, but I don't want to be that burdened. Okay. Another key thing that we have to do is define the keys. So when we're doing this kind of thing, React Native and most systems need to know, I need a unique identifier for each item to keep up with it. And I don't want that to change. And the way we're going to do that is through this key extractor property. And what we're going to define here is a function that extracts the key out of the item. You can imagine then, like each of these is going to be an item, each object in the array. So we're going to say this function takes in an item. So we're defining a little arrow function here. This is the item we're taking in. How do you get the key out of the item? Remember the arrow basically, the shorthand for the arrow is like, hey, we just write the code without the return statement. So this, we can just say item.id. So this is the shorthand way of writing this little function inline to say, how do you get the key? How do you extract the key from an item? It's just that items.id. Okay. All right. Here's the next essential thing that we have to have in order for this to work. We have to define a render item function. So this is for each item, what kind of UI do we make for this item? Are you with me? So I'm going to show you a super simple and I think not so good way of doing this, and then a better way of doing it. So the super simple way is to define this inline. So I could here extract. Oh, hang on. I'm going to write another arrow function here. Arrow function. Yeah. And I want this arrow function to extract the item. So I'm destructuring an item object from this. And what I'm going to return is a text that says item.title. And that would need to be in curlies, wouldn't it? Because it's code. Why is this mad at me? Do I not have text? Oh, that's annoying. When I saved it, it took it out. So I'm going to import text. Not that, in curlies. I'm going to import text from, and I want to get @ components. The @ sign goes to like the root of your project, I think. So you don't have to do like .. / .. I'm going to start at the root of our project and say /component /themed is where that comes from. So now I have the text element. I had it before, but I lost it. So you see this is like a one-line function that is saying this is what you're going to create for every item in the data set. And I think this might be enough. Uh-oh. Reload. Okay. Flat list. We now, in fact, do get something. Those 5 words are there. Just in 5 text things that are stacked. I can like pull them around because the flat list is like in a scroll view kind of thing. You with me? Questions on this? I don't know what to take from your silence. Can you give me a thumbs up if this is working on your computer? Okay. Mm-hmm. The way it removes unused imports is kind of annoying to me. That's a VS Code setting. Um, because I'm taking stuff out and then later adding it back, and it isn't automatically adding it back. Okay. So are you with me so far? What do we need? Robert is working for you? Sweet. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Mark, working for you?
It looks like it recognized.
Are you in a standard that navigation templated app from Expo?
I think so.
So you're saying this line doesn't work for you?
Yeah.
Like you can pull it in from React Native if you prefer, but you can't do it from both places. If you pull it in from React Native, then it won't automatically reflect the dark mode, light mode. Okay. You got all right. Izzy, how about it? Okay. And Ella, is it Emily? Okay. So let's improve this some more and make it closer to what I showed you up front. All right, one big improvement to me is I do not want to make a super complex definition of each row, each item in line, perhaps. I would like to separate that out. So what I can instead say is instead of writing this function, that's what it is, it's a function that renders each item there, I can, before the return statement, so this is still in my component, but I can create a function in here. And I can say const, I can even call it render item. And I want this render item function to be equal to an arrow function that I'm going to define right here. Let's see if I can do this one bit at a time. You with me so far? That's a function. If we wanted to be fancy about this, we could in fact say that we just return a text that says what? Your mama. These are parentheses, which I think this is what I need, and this is what I missed last time. No, I think I need this. Sorry. If I put these in this, and then, where does this curly go to? Okay, get rid of this curly. That's how I messed it up last time. So it's sort of like this where I'm returning this thing, but since this is an arrow function, I don't need the return keyword. So this here is what I'm returning. So if I were to now say, instead of doing all of this work here, making this almost the row template, the item template in line, I can just say, call the render item function and return it. And as you can see, I get your mama, your mama, your mama, your mama, and your mama 5 times because I'm exactly returning a static text every time, which is not what I want to do. You with me? But to me, decoupling these makes it a little bit more readable because I'm going to make this like much more complex. I'm going to create a whole view and put multiple things in that view. Okay. In order for this to work the way we want it, we need to take in each item in this render item function. And the syntax for that is we want to destructure an item like so. And then within this, I want to say, I actually want to have a view. And within the view, I want a text. And I want one text to say the item's title, which was called item.title. Notice we're going to have issues here because I haven't told TypeScript the shape of my types yet. So I'm going to have to do that. Here though, right, this is code. So this needs to be in curlies, doesn't it? So this is changed, yeah. And then I would also like to have another bit of text here that's the item.description, which that does work even with this error where item has implicitly a type of any, so that could be anything. It's because it doesn't know what item is and it's trying to auto guess. Okay, that is annoying when it does that. I know exactly what you're talking about. So let's fix it. So we want to say that this item has a type, and it's a type of thing that has an ID. Look right, it has an ID, a title, and a description. One way is to create a name for that type. We've seen this before, right, where we defined the name of the type so that it would know what it would look like. Another way of handling this, which I have not shown you, so I want to show you now, is right here, I can define an anonymous type in place. So I can say this thing has the following shape, essentially. I'm going to put it on separate lines just to be really verbose about it. So this type does not have a name. I'm just saying this item is a type that is an object that has an ID that's a string. It has a title that's a string, and it has a description that's a string. It's a pretty boring type, but you see what I'm saying? Right now I'm saying this is like a type. It describes the shape of this type that's on the other side. This item will have an ID, a title, and a string, and a description, all of which are type string. Oh, and it's actually, no, it's slightly different. It's more complex than this. I'm saying that this thing that I'm destructuring has something called an item, which has these things, which means I actually need another set of curlies around this. Does this make sense? This is quite, ugh. I'm going to format this and see how it changes it. Okay, that's how it goes. So I'm extracting an item from an object that has an item, and this item property has an ID, title, and a string. So this is a way to define in line what the shape is of the thing that you're about to get. And by doing this, now I will get autocomplete because now I can say item dot, and VS Code knows those are the three options that that object should have. Does that make sense? We could have done this the other way, where outside of this we say type or interface. In this case, it should probably not be called item. It should be called like a club or club description. And that club description type has those three things. I do see like this to me is syntactically dense. So I'm extracting an item in this function where an item is a thing that I can destructure from an object. So this is the outer object that has an item, and that outer object item has inner fields, inner properties of ID, title, and description. And it looks like when I format this document, it really wants to add in the semicolons. Interesting. You with me? is a lot of curlies and arrows and parentheses. Okay, so that's the essence of connecting it to the data. So we have defined in our flat list, this is our data, the raw data. This is how you get the key out. It really wants to know the key. And this is how we render each item or each row in this list. Now, there are a bunch of other properties that we can define on a flat list that define other components within the flat list. So, for example, maybe we would like there to be a header at the top of this. Well, there's a list header component property attribute. So the list header component, now we can define what do you want to put in the header of this list. This one to me does make more sense to potentially do this in line, where I want to say, hey, I've got a text component here where the text component is just says clubs, but spell it right. And you see it's up there. Maybe I don't want this space. If I'm really doing this, all this stuff needs to be styled, and I haven't done that. So I would want to say style is equal to, and maybe, no, this has to be in curlies. Styles dot, I think I'm going to reuse this title. That's what I got for free from what was down here. It's just font weight. It's bold 20. Maybe here I'd also like to have some padding of 4. I don't know. I believe it's because it's not in a view. It's not in the view. So, like, we could change that if we want to. But up here, I probably need a style here as well. That would be like the, I mean, if I'm going to go with item, then this would be called style.item, which I haven't made yet. So let's change the view here so that we have a, item. I'm just defining the styles now. Is that too small to read? Is that okay? I know what I did before here. I just put like a lot of padding in here, 20 pixels all the way around, and then some background color. I don't know. Ugh. I'm gonna have that. Then I need a color as well. That's like. Don't need a comma. I always forget that comma. Why did that not work? Oh, it's because this white, the item is a view. So for what I was trying to do there, I need to have another style for my title. Or like my item title. You with me? Item title. Come back down here. And now item title. And for that item title, I'd like to make it have a color. So I need a colon. Have a color of like white. Put this in there like that. Probably it should have a font size that's a little bit bigger. I don't know, 16. Oh, that's a number. That should be like that. Maybe a font weight as well. Yeah. And then maybe I want a description as well. maybe, I guess I should continue this with item description. And for that guy, I also want the color to be white. I'm going to make it a little bit less white. Okay, that doesn't, it's not connected yet, right? Because I need here to say the style for this other bit of text is the description, the item description. So now they're white. Maybe, looks like to me this one of these should probably have some space under it. So maybe this has a padding bottom, no, bottom of 4. Push that, maybe 8. I really like multiples of 4 for some reason. I know that that's a little arbitrary. Did you see what I did up here? So each of these should be right connected to the the name of the style in the style sheet, if we're going to do it this way with the style sheet object. Notice then that I can still like scroll them. For fun, just so that you can see it, I'm going to take all of these and duplicate them, but I'm going to update the IDs because it's going to hate every bit of you if you duplicate IDs. So at least now you can see that they actually like scroll. Okay. Now that's all like one big long thing. There's another component that we can put in here, which is a separator component. I think it's called item separator component. So the item separator component, curious about this. What's this saying? The code that I got said to do this. So for this one, I'm just going to put in a view, self-closing, and it has a styles view. Yeah, it's styles. It's this whole thing, style equals separator, which that's what we got built in. This separator has a margin vertical of 30. I'm going to get rid of that. So now my separator has a height of 1 and a width of 80%. That's not being respected. The 80% is not. But see, now there is like that line separator. I think you could then style that however you wanted to. Or I guess you could put in whatever you want to. If you wanted to put in more into this view, you could do that. What's making the color that color? It's probably the background color. So if we were to say the background color is hashtag, that's probably what it already is. Yeah, that kind of lightens it, right? 111. You follow me? So that's how I'm styling the separator between each thing. I could certainly change the height to something ridiculous and get more space between it. I think you don't actually want it to be that bold. Not at all. I'd really love for that to be super muted, don't you think? Almost so that you don't even see it. But maybe it should be some of them. Anyway, you can color pick as you wish. Okay. But wait, there's more. So in addition to defining what's at the header, there's also a footer if you want to put that in there. I'm not going to demo that. Another one that I think actually is also useful is the list empty component. So this list empty component is saying, what does this look like if there are no pieces of data in it? Because it will be weird. It'll just be like blank, and you might think that didn't work. And so it's much better user experience to be explicit about this and say, hey, no clubs were found. You with me? This would be in the case that your array of data was empty. So to make sure that we can see this, or to test out this empty list component, I'm going to just go ahead and cut all these guys out and save it. And now you see, instead of it just being blank, it says no clubs were found. A lot of times when you're dealing with this, you are doing like filtering or you're loading from a database. And if it returns nothing, then you see how this is better. To say no clubs found, then just like blank. I'm going to put those back in though. Okay, one more. You ready for this? It is also possible to implement this pattern where we allow the list to be refreshed and give the user a UI indication that it is refreshing. You're used to pull to refresh, right? I remember a day before pull to refresh existed. It was a dark time for humanity. And then somebody, I don't know if it was Apple or Android, Google, or some third party was like, hey, instead of pressing a button to refresh, let's just let them pull it down. And it was a very natural UI, and now it's just embedded in our minds. So here's the way we do this. We say refresh control equals, and this is what we're going to put in this code. This also seems overly complex, but apparently this is what we do. So we're going to bring in refresh control from React Native. This one, the second one, refresh control. This can also be self-closing. To support this, we need two things on this refresh control. They must be required, and that's why this is freaking out. We have to tell it what code, what function to call when the refresh happens, and we have to give it access to state that updates when it's refreshing or not. All right, here's the way we do that. Up here in our code, I'm going to do it all the way up here before render item. I'm going to create a const refreshing state. This would also have a set refreshing. And this is going to use state from React. And the default value of this is false. You with me? Remember this use state pattern? So we're creating a new use state that's defining it should be true when the thing is refreshing and false when it's not refreshing. So this is the variable that we need to track whether or not it's refreshing. The other thing we have to have is a const on refresh, which is the function that we call when the user pulls. In the real life, we would do a fetch, almost certainly, to a web API to request new data, and then when it comes back, we would process that data and probably make the new list of clubs, the new items, equal to the new thing that we downloaded. You follow me? We would just like replace it. And when that happens, then the list, the flat list would have to re-update for all the new items that were downloaded. You with me? We're not going to have a back end right now, so we're going to fake this out. And the fake out that we're going to do is just to create a timer where we, for like 2 seconds, pause, and then after 2 seconds, we'll come back and say, yeah, we are now done refreshing. But no new data is going to come in. And the way to do this in JavaScript is with the set timeout function, which is, I bet we haven't used yet. So we're going to say set timeout. And the set timeout takes two things. The first thing is an arrow function of the code that we're going to run. So this first parameter is an arrow function that we're going to run. This is the code that we're going to run in the future when this timeout is done. Does that make sense? So we're saying run this code right here. Code to run in the future. This is not legal code. Hang on. Hold that thought. And the second parameter is how many milliseconds are we going to set this timer for before we run this code? And let's just try 2,000 milliseconds, 2 seconds, okay? Now let's fix this. In our case, all we're going to do, since we're simulating this, is at the beginning of refresh, we're going to call set refreshing. This guy right here, we're going to call this. We're going to set it to true. And it's going to stay true for 2 seconds. And when we're done with the 2 seconds, we're going to set refreshing equal to false. So we're just simulating 2 seconds during which set refreshing is true. You would still have the same pattern if you were doing it in real life, where for the whole period of time, which is unpredictable, it might be more than 2 seconds, it might be less, but you're going to set refreshing to be true. You're going to send your API call out and ask the web server for the new data. You're going to get it back and do some processing. And when you've done all your processing, which is generally going to end with setting clubs equal to the new clubs that you downloaded, then you're going to set refreshing to false again. Does that make sense? Okay, the other thing we have to do, which is we haven't linked this. So in our refresh controller down here, we need to say on refresh, we want to call I think I just called it on refresh. So that's allowed. So I'm saying on the refresh event, call a function that we've actually named on refresh, this guy. And the other thing we want to say is the refreshing flag is equal to, and in curlies, again, I just called this the same exact name as the parameter, refreshing. This is our state. Does that make sense? So if this works right, I should be able to pull down now. It thinks for 2 seconds and then finishes. And I guess so I've got Android open as well, and all this should work on Android too. Yeah, only it does it the Android way. That's cool, right? So we're like abstracting away the actual work of loading data from the back end, but that's not that hard, and we'll learn how to do that soon. Questions on this? Can you figure out what they are? Because that would help you own this code better. Okay. So to me, like the point of this is not that you just have this code, but that you've learned kind of what it means. Not just kind of what it means, but very much what it means and what it's about. And I could not get this right the first time, even when I was copying from a correct example, because there was so much syntactic. When I forced myself to retype it and not just copy paste. So I think there is value for that. And if you're struggling, that just means you're normal. And this is also like one of the most basic examples of a flat list. I mean, we added some more spice to it as we went through to make it a little bit cooler. Okay. Can I show you something else? This is what ChatGPT generated for me when I told it my problem. I want to show a history of transactions. And it did some really cool stuff. All right, so the control that I'm using here, and you can't exactly see it, this is called a section list. So let me show you this as well. The section list has a title. The list is chunked up into sections. So in this case, the sections are based on different days. And it has the total for this day. It did not understand what Jones was, and it implied it was very householdy kinds of stuff, which I thought was funny. So the dry cleaning pickup was $85. The chicken sandwich combo was $12. That's actually pretty on point for Chick-fil-A. Groceries at LP were $42, and the iced latte was $6.45. I thought it was cool. When I told it to just make up data, it did a really solid job, I thought. So notice this like kind of complex data for these sections. I have an array of objects that have arrays within them. So it's an array of arrays. You with me? So the outside thing, the thing that says sections, is an array of each of the sections. Within each section is a date and the data for that day, which is another array of objects, which is what each object has an ID, an amount, a description, and a tag. So like that data is complex, but we're able to show it in this, I think, pretty usable way. The tags are a little bit extra, or maybe the descriptions are, because I think we said we weren't going to do that. But I mean, ChatGPT was able to generate pretty realistic data for me. I would not have spent this much time to make such clean, realistic data. But you see, that data is inherently complex. Okay. There's a bunch of junk that we have to do for helpers, but I want you to see what's at the core here. There is a section list, which is equivalent to a flat list, only it has those sections. So instead of taking in, like, a flat list is always going to take, you see how it's flat? It's going to take a one-dimensional array of things. A section list is always going to have to take, like, a two-dimensional array, an array of arrays. So we have to tell it what the sections are. Again, we have to extract the keys. We have to render each item. They adopt the row idea. I've seen this come up, that each of these things is a row. So this shows how to render one row. A row is one of these. We also then, now since we have sections, we have to say, how do you lay out a section header? The section header is this part. So they've defined this one in line. It's a view. It has a text with the section title and the section total. They did a lot of really cool stuff here to basically sum up all the prices in here. That was very clever. That would have taken me a long time. We've got our item separator, which is very subtle. I can barely even see it. Let's see. Oh, that won't tell me what it is. Hairline width. There's the background color. And it has a, oh, the margin left. It must not be. Well, I can't even see it. Can y'all just, there we go. So you see there, it doesn't go full width. But it is super thin. I like that hairline width. List header component. So the list header component, which you can't see right now because I've messed up the background, is this thing at the top that's in white. Did I go through most of the things? There's a list footer at the bottom. I don't think I've ever, yeah. Days, 10 total days, $871. That's a lot to spend. A lot of this complexity you see is up here in this transaction row. So this is how to lay out each transaction. So this is equivalent to what I call render item. So there's a view with a view in it that has a text. There's also this tag component. That's where this guy that says Starbucks or LP or CFA is. What you can't see at the top, I'm pretty sure I put this in. Maybe I didn't. At one point I tried it and it worked. Making it so you could filter transactions by clicking on the tag that you wanted to see it filtered by. So there is a lot of extra here. Like this is how it's a component for laying out the tags. You can see up here, the tags are also defined where we've got a background color and a text color for each of the different kinds of tags. So that's like really nicely done. As well, and they're handling currency and dates really well. Both of those are special kinds of objects that you kind of want to print in a special way, and it's handling that really nicely. So my plan is to give you this, and then let's work through how we want to customize it to work just the way you want it to work. But it is a lot, but what I want you to know is that like you can understand this. This isn't just a pile of AI slop that's impossible to understand. If you understand the flat list, which we just did together, then you can decipher this, but it might take a little work to extract out a lot of the cleverness. But this pattern is so common that ChatGPT just busted it out when I asked it for it and told it, I want every row to have these three things in a section list. I had to like know the right words to ask, but it gave me exactly what I wanted. And I think that's the kind of the place we want to be working. All right, when's this thing due? Friday. So we're doing that, right? How do you feel about getting this done by Friday? Okay, let's talk some more on Friday about it, but I want to see where y'all stand. Let's love to see a kind of a spot check. I mean, all this is bonus. All this history stuff I'm not putting on you. Really, it's bonus, but your dashboard page is on you. All right. Let me know as you have questions.